Hi, Honest Discussioner here. This is a video response to Question Christ. Now, Question Christ makes a couple of arguments in his video, a couple of points that I'd like to address. The main theme of his video is that there has not been any change, and this is not to speak politically, but personally for most individuals of our species. He recounts an event this past New Year's where he was watching the Twilight Zone marathon, and at one point one of the characters says the words, "no change." And according to him, that hit him pretty hard because he realized that we as individuals are really no different than we were about a year ago, despite the fact that we've made many resolutions to the contrary every New Year's. The first thing I'd like to have a bit of contention with is that he asserts the secular world, or just the world in general, as he calls it, has a solution for our issues of not being able to change, and that is to ignore it. He cites the examples of the Webster's Junior Dictionary removing words such as sin and bishop and other words, and the fact that the DSM-4 is changing to the DSM-5, and in doing so is removing narcissism, along with a couple other personality disorders from the book. The problem with this is that, well, for one, it is, as he says, the Oxford Junior Dictionary, which is used for 7-year-olds, basically, and older. This is not the main Oxford Dictionary that they're doing this with, and the intention seems to be modernizing it, not ignoring that sin exists, but maybe directing the vocabulary towards something a 7-year-old is more likely to use, especially in England. And it seems unlikely that sin's going to be part of their everyday vocabulary if you take across the entire thing. Now, you can say that, that's still terrible, they shouldn't be doing it, that's fine. That's really not the point. The point is, I don't think they're trying to ignore the existence of sin. Especially since they're not trying to take it out of all the dictionaries. And as far as removing narcissism, they're not trying to ignore narcissism either. What they're trying to do is reorganize how they diagnose personality disorders. They're trying to do it a la carte, as the information I'll post in the underbar would tend to show. Now, I'm not exactly sure whether I think this is a good idea that they're doing this or not. There certainly seems to be a plethora of psychologists who disagree with this new stance, but again, that's really not the point. The point is they're not trying to ignore narcissism, as Question Christ is trying to put out there. They're just trying to reclassify it in a way that's more accessible to psychologists. Again, the important part is not ignoring it. Now, really, this whole discussion of what the world's answer to the problem is just there to discuss the yin to his yang. And the yang, or maybe it's the other way around, is what he really wants to discuss, and that's the idea that the way to go about changing yourself, to promote real change, the idea that he's putting forward is the only way to really promote real change within yourself is to accept Jesus Christ within your heart, citing that he will burn away the things that get in the way, and he will be able to really move you in your life. This really, the problem that I have with this is that it assumes that people really are never improving themselves unless they're in Christianity. And I have to say, that's really not true. To make this argument, as Question Christ seems to be implying at least, at the very least, you'd have to believe that the only people that have been able to truly improve upon themselves are the ones that live in a society that's been at least touched by Christianity. The thousands and thousands of years of Asian civilizations have not been able to do this, apparently, since they didn't have the power of the Holy Spirit. Buddha himself was apparently not able to ever improve upon himself because he did not have, obviously, the power of the Holy Spirit backing him. I really think we don't even have to go that far. I think plenty of people are able to find the strength within themselves to improve themselves and to actually make those resolutions. So many of us do fail at losing weight every year, but there are goals that we do set for ourselves, and we do become such. I am such a better person than I was 5 years ago, and I know plenty of people that can attest to that fact. And I did this without the power of the Holy Spirit. I've been pretty much saying for 5 years that I'm convinced that there is no such thing. I think the problem actually lies within the example of that he gave in the Twilight Zone, the episode in which the lines "no change" was spoken. I think the episode he chose to do is actually pretty ironic. To give a little background context, I actually saw this episode a long time ago. Maybe it's very famous because I haven't seen a lot of Twilight Zone episodes, but I saw this one. And the context is that there is a woman in bandages who's just gone through facial reconstruction surgery because her face, she'd been in an accident, and this is the third attempt. And if she does not look normal, she's going to have to be ejected from society and live with all the other rejects. So by the end of the episode, they're slowly taking up the bandages. This is the moment of truth. Bandages drop. They stand back and gasp, and they say, "No change," and they're very disappointed. It's at that point revealed, when you look at her face, that she looks quite beautiful, as far as we're concerned, and that in fact all the doctors and nurses and everyone else that's in the society is in fact quite ugly by our standards. It's an excellent, brilliant commentary on societal norms. The irony, as it seems to me, is that Question Christ is expecting a very specific type of change. If someone's type of change looks a little bit different than the spiritual type that he sees in his church, or maybe the type that he saw within himself, that it doesn't necessarily count. I'm not saying, again, I want to make sure everyone understands, I'm not saying he's doing this on purpose, or that he's trying to, sweep something under the rug when it doesn't conform to his expectations. I'm pretty sure this, if I'm even right about this, that it's more of just a subconscious thing that we were all guilty of doing. But I feel as though if I were to go up to him and show him the type of change that people can do on their own power, he would still say it's nothing compared to the type of spiritual change that he sees. And that I find to be a big problem. For me, from what I can tell, when you have your father, in this analogy, this would be Jesus, doing everything for you, you don't learn how to do it yourself. And I feel this push towards only spiritual change is actually very damaging to society, because it ignores the inner part of you that needs to be grown just on your own terms, just under your own strength, because it can be done, and it is done. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it always works. Just as he says in the about the type of change that Jesus supposedly promotes. There's really no difference in the actual benefit here in the short term, but I believe in the long term, if you do things under your own power, you'll wind up being stronger for it in the end, and you won't have to rely on something that I personally believe is actually an illusion to get you where you need to be in your life. And that's my perspective on it. Have a nice day. Honest Discussioner, out.